credit involve an additional layer. So first, let me talk about this whole issue of credit. So we have 62 universities that are providing courses. Currently, they're not giving credit for courses provided as MOOCs. So the question is, how does a student who goes through, say, UC Irvine's Algebra 1 or Pre-Calculus, or through University of Pennsylvania's Calculus course, how do they get credit that will help them achieve their goal of getting a degree? For that, we've partnered with the American Council for Education, which, as I'm sure you know, is an umbrella organization for all US academic institutions. ACE has a program that's been running since just after World War II. It's called the ACE Credit Program. And what it does, it was originally intended to help US service personnel who learned something in the military get benefit for that learning by getting college credit. So the ACE assesses courses taught outside of a traditional academic environment for credit equivalency, and they measure academic rigor, standards, learning outcomes, and so on and so forth, and they say, yes, this is worth 3 credit hours of introductory calculus, for example. As part of an agreement that we reached with the ACE back in November, they took 5 of our courses, 3 in math, 2 in biology, and assessed them for credit equivalence using the exact same process that they've been employing for over 50 years. All 5 of the courses passed the review and now receive ACE credit recommendations, which means that if a student completes the course with a proctored final exam and this identity verified mechanism in the interim up until the final exam, they have a credit recommendation that now 2,000 institutions that are in the ACE network can accept as college credit when a student registers as a matriculated student at that institution. So effectively, this circumvents the question of how do you give these students credit. It's not the university that provided the course that's providing the credit. It's certainly not Coursera because we're not a credit granting institution. Rather, if the student ultimately enrolls in a credit granting program, that university has the option of giving the student that credit as a form of recognizing of prior learning. And we have been told by a number of large state systems that they plan to recognize these credits. The last thing I want to talk about is the issue of quality and how these courses can improve quality of the learning experience. And then I'll come back to the issue of costs and where costs come in. So we think that quality can be improved using these massive open online courses in 2 different ways. One is in the online experience and one is in the in-classroom experience. The online experience really goes back to a whole long line of literature, maybe as far back as 30 years ago, in a paper by renowned educational researcher Benjamin Bloom. Bloom studied 3 populations of students and their distribution of achievement scores. The first is the population taught by a traditional lecture course, and you can see the distribution, standard bell-shaped curve. The second population were students taught in a lecture-based format, but using mastery learning, which means that they couldn't move on to the second topic before mastering the first. And the third is this population that was taught by an individual human tutor. And you can see that the red population is a full standard deviation, or sigma, as it's called in statistics, to the right of the blue curve, and the green curve is yet another sigma to the right of that. So to understand what that means, if you look at the median point of the blue curve as a performance threshold, saying everybody who performs above the median is succeeding, then 50% in the lecture base are going to be past that median by definition. If you use that same threshold for the individual tutoring population, 98% of the students are going to be above that bar. So this is an intervention that can move 98% of our students to be in the successful category. The problem, of course, as Bloom points out, is that you can't afford an individual tutor for every student.